Okay. Oops. I should double check too, because there's a thickness to the shirt, right? I can't quite tell. Okay, I see. I see. So I've got the whole shirt there. So, yeah, what I'm going to try to do is kind of like eliminate the shell if I can. Let's get it a solo for a second. I'm going to hide kind of all the little accessories like the bow tie. So I'm kind of just managing the excess details of the shirt, the pants, and all that. Same thing with the legs. So I'm going to go into... Yeah, I'll keep this head floating and separate. I usually keep the head and neck separate. So I'll take this, the pants... yeah, let's take that. I'm going to merge down. Yeah, let me just double check, because are there... Yeah, I felt like I grabbed the interior of the shirt, so I'm not 100% sure on this yet. I think that's what I've done. So I might actually delete that. Okay, and there's the shirt. So yeah, the stuff I want to sort of hide off is the kind of floating cuffs, the buttons, because we can deal with that later at some point. Okay, I'll go to split hidden. Okay, so I think I'm ready. Yes. Merge down. Merge down. Oh, so I think am I using the wrong body again? That's okay. I'll deal with it. Okay, merge down. And then, yeah, I'll take this. It's quite heavy at this stage. 23 million polys. Yeah. Okay, well, I think if I get it a solo... I'll just do a, what's it called, a clip curve. So clip curve will not destroy anything, except it'll flatten the shape against the curve edge. It's going to be slow, because this is heavy. And then I'll unhide the rest. Hey, all right, cool. So... And it looks like, are the pant legs, they're kind of enclosed, right? So that's usually what I do, is I enclose the pant legs, the shirt openings, the collar openings with some kind of flat mesh. Because, you know, unless you're sending a camera in between the clothing and the body, or you're looking right up a sleeve or a pant leg or whatever, you know, you're not going to really see that, okay? So at this point, this is all merged. Again, this is kind of a higher poly version, so I might just duplicate it and preserve it. So I will temporarily or permanently dynamesh this thing. So with the open areas, any open areas will kind of get enclosed automatically anyways, like so, you see? And it doesn't matter, you know, if the color bleeds and stuff like that, that's not a huge deal, okay? Okay, so I'll probably turn off color because it can also be a bit of a distraction. Okay, so we want to start kind of dividing this up. Again, using slice. Topology for animation purposes is what we're after, right? So elbow, might be good to look at it from a top view, probably a little bit better. Wrist. Okay, so thumb. And usually when it comes down to the fingers, I will really try to get a good angle on this and isolate each individual finger. So again, I'll isolate just the palm here. So again, if I've kind of sliced them all as one group, that's just the starting points. And then you can, again, kind of slice through here. By the way, if you Alt double click, you get a sharper edge for the, all right, so if I Alt double click because there's a big change there. All right, it's kind of a quick way to get the other fingers done, right? Okay, so usually I think about Speedos all day. No, for doing the groin area. I'm being very weird today. I apologize, and probably extremely inappropriate. But yeah, bathing suit zone. So you also want to think a bit about, yeah, how does it kind of ride into there? Usually that kind of curvature from the front, and then also, you know, it's kind of nice. It's got just a very straightforward belt line. So if there was a feature like that, a belt line, you do want to sort of trace it, I would say, pretty closely, as close as you can. Because again, it's a defining feature of the mesh. It's almost like anatomy in a way. So we'll follow that. Okay, knees. So again, it's good to do this without perspective on, just so we get a very kind of flat orthographic view. Again, kind of right where the pant legs are, the pant cuffs. This is working out pretty well. And if you want to, you can also, or maybe try to, just get right under there. And then, yeah, ball of the foot. But I think might be better from a top view. So again, I'll kind of just hide the torso for now. Okay. You just click Alt once and it creates a curvature. Alt twice, quickly, will create a sharp edge, right? So one Alt, curve, double Alt, sharp edge. Cool. And then spacebar can move it actually. So if you had a design feature, you can do that. Okay. Polygroups. It's one of the powerful things to unlocking ZBrush. So again, this thing looks weird. I'll turn off the line too because it's very distracting. So we'll go to just simply, again, he's symmetrical. Also, if your character is asymmetrical, I recommend trying to build the base symmetrically just for the ease of having topology that will be very easily skinned one side and then mirroring to the other, right? And then you can create asymmetries through layered clothing, a layer of clothing, or through moving mesh around after the fact. You know, if you have to, though, sometimes you just have to build asymmetrically. But here I'm just doing mirror and weld. So for the torso, usually there's kind of like some twisting zones here. So I'll probably give this guy at least 3, if not 4 to 5 zones. So I might give him, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kind of twist zones. So I'll try it a little bit differently here. I usually prefer them to be equally spaced. It just gives better motion typically. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not so even, but close-ish. Okay. Now, in fact, you don't necessarily need this, I would say, either for this kind of topology. Usually this stuff works fine on its own. The one thing I might do, and by the way, when you dynamesh things and if you lose your polygroups, like I actually wanted to keep those polygroups, you can turn off the paint icon on the subtool and it will keep that. I realize I did lose that a little bit here, but I can just sort of quickly eyeball it and recreate it. Again, I should be doing this with a tablet and pen, but I'm just mousing it today. So hence the not just usually terrible brush strokes I have with a pen, but extra terrible with a mouse and pen. Okay, so very rough polygroup. Now, I will say this too. When you have 3 million polys, even 1 million plus, and you hit Z remesh, it can get really slow. So I have a little trick to this. Oh, will it work though? I'm not sure if it'll work. Yeah. Sometimes you can go to Z plugin and do Decimation Master. So I'll show you what Decimation Master does. It's useful too if you want to send it to another app for 3D printing, or if you want to send it to Maya, if you wanted to use Maya's retopology tools. I'm not sure why you would want to, but pre-process current. So what you're doing is like analyzing the surface for detail and info. Like I said, I think it's actually going to destroy the polygroups from what I recall, but it is great for 3D printing options. So okay. We've lost our polygroups, so you'll see anywhere where it's like extra flat, it will essentially take out as many triangles as possible, and anywhere where there's more density and detail, it'll try to preserve that by placing more triangles. So again, I usually use this for 3D printing to kind of optimize my files so they're not super heavy. And sometimes you can do this as a step. I should have done it before slicing, but so if I've already done slicing though, what I typically will do is kind of a half Dynamesh where I drop the resolution, control, click and drag again, and you see I'm down to like 600,000 polys, right? The only potential danger with dropping your Dynamesh resolution is you might start to get webbing and stuff in the fingers, which can happen. So you may want to try to turn down or turn off any blur options or polish options. And even then I can sort of tweak things after I'm done. Okay. So let's get into Z-Remesh. Turn off Dynamesh. Usually I go in half, keep groups. I will turn off, maybe I'll keep detect edges on because there's some really sharp edges here for the sleeve. So I'll see if it picks it up on my first Z-Remesh. Again, I'll pause. Z-Remeshing again. So I got it to about 250,000. And yeah, if you have any issues too, I will try to kind of smooth out any unusual zones a little bit. Remember that the shape information we'll get back. Any sculpting information that's gone will just simply be brought back through Project All. Project All you can think of as copy all, transfer sculpting, transfer color, okay? So I'll again go in half. I'll turn off detect edges this time. I don't really need it. I may in fact create my own crease here just to kind of reinforce that, hey, there's some sort of like sharp edges, okay? Crease edge loop complete. Oops. So we can say keep creases. Do the same thing around this kind of waist area. So sometimes I use the creasing option as a way to sort of say, hey, don't wash out this detail or this angle here, okay? Because this smoothing option as well, having that smooth option, smooth groups, will start to de-define or lose some definition in those areas, and it can really, really wash it out. So, but again, projecting will bring it back ultimately. 54,000. So at this point, you could either set a number if you wanted to, or keep going in half. I usually typically would just keep going in half until I'm close to an area that I like. Yeah, I think for the fingers and stuff, it's not too bad. Yeah, I'm not entirely crazy. I think I'll turn down smooth groups here. I might just keep it the same and remesh one more time. Yeah, it's a bit better in the thumb there. Again, you might sort of start to see shrinking and things like that. Oftentimes what I find I have to do is that I put in my own hand topology to replace that. Okay, so let's unhide the other body. Yes. Yes. Powerful. Powerful. Okay. This should be your character. Just no head, floating mustache and eyeballs. Okay, so I'll go to solo. Now again, projecting can be tough, especially even though this thing is technically one subtool. There's still kind of floating overlapping parts, right? And there's cavities. So I'm going to show you what can happen and how we can potentially fix that. So I'll just solo this and do project all. Okay, project all. It says there's poly paint. So yeah, I probably want to keep the painting, right? So I'll say always yes. So again, we might get spiking and stuff, right? Because there's these complex layers. This is where I might try to keep this one Dynamesh to a single shell. So I'll just crank the Dynamesh again, turn off any blur. So now we wait. Okay, so there were some problems too. I noticed, yeah, I think I screwed up and deleted part of the body that was overlapping there, but okay, let's do this. I'm going to Dynamesh again. Okay, so this is the high poly Dynamesh. You see all those gaps in between are basically filled. So again, we have one solid shell. That's kind of the ideal for projecting complex mesh like this. So I'll go back to the low. And if I hit project all, I should get better shapes here, like in the sleeve area, right? So divide, project all. And that's all we're doing, is now kind of recapturing the high to low poly stuff. Again, I'm going to probably go to uncrease all because I don't need those creases anymore. Maybe in the bottom of the shoe, but for now I'll just say uncrease all. Divide, project. And if you have any kind of shape mismatches too, sometimes I'll kind of nudge around or smooth and then reproject all. Right, just to kind of get things a bit better aligned. Project. Okay, I'll pause while I do this divide project. It's kind of slow. In this case, I'm going to divide up very, very close to the original res here. So I just kind of tidy things up a bit. Excuse me. So again, I'll do one more project all, and then there'll be a little bit of cleanup, right? Some of the paint and stuff. So I'm at 6 million. I think the original was like 28 total, which is maybe a bit overkill, but we'll see when I project all. So we're back. I'm just going to soften the edge over here a bit. Smooth this stuff out, because again, that's that kind of layered glitch. If you go to flat color, you can, in my interface, you can go to the paintbrush, or B for brush, P for paint, and then it's A is the shortcut combo. And if you hit C, that'll pick up that color, and you just simply brush it back in. So anywhere where there's, yeah, kind of like little errors like that, we could try to fill those in, right? Okay, I'm not going to do that though and bore you to tears. So now we've got all that info transferred, right? Let's go back to Skin Shade 4. What's kind of great about this, now I wouldn't use this as my actual UVs, but if I want to start testing, what you can simply do is go to Z plugin, UV master. I'll just tell it to use the polygroups. I would create different polygroups at this stage for UVs, but just as a quick test, I'll say polygroups unwrap. You do have to be at your high res for this, so if you go to your highest division, you can then go to UV map, 4K, 16 pixel border is what I usually do for map. Go to texture, say create from poly paint, because our highest division with painting on it is just poly paint, and there you see some texturing. And if you wanted to see the normal map too, we can go to normal map, create normal map. So you get some details. What's cool about this too is you can export this now to like Substance, but again, we're just kind of prototyping. But I think this mesh is actually pretty close to good for animation. Right? It looks pretty clean, pretty well done. And then yes, let me make sure my export settings. I'll usually scale my model up because ZBrush scale is pretty small. So I'll go Z. There he is in our scene. By the way, if you wanted to match scale, like what you can do is if you go back, if you started with Maya, or if you have a reference scale, you can just scale it up. What I usually do though is I'll go to create. Where is it? Measure tools, distance, hold V to snap to vertex, click somewhere on the bottom of the foot, somewhere on the neck, and you'll see he's like 16 centimeters, okay? So he needs to be about 10 times bigger than that. So I'm going to just go back in here, and if you go back to export, yeah, I had a feeling I should have made it 100, because the default scale here is 2 centimeters typically, okay? And ZBrush prefers that scale for whatever reason. I don't know why. It prefers 2 centimeters. So you have to kind of keep that in mind. So I usually do a bit of math. So if I want him to be like 180 centimeters, which is 6 feet, then I would, do that division. 180 divided by 2 is 90. So that's pretty close. So maybe I'll say 90 here. Or maybe I want him to be shorter, right? Because he's with a bunch of boxers, and typically the refs are tiny guys. So maybe I'll make it like 70 times, okay? So then if I go Z, should get an updated version there. So now he's a bit more to scale. And if you go to create, measure, distance, hold V to snap to the vertices, right? Still a bit small, but he's about human scale now. Okay? So there he is, and if you hit 6 on your keyboard, there's all his materials, right? Kind of magical. Usually the one thing you have to adjust is going to bump mapping and set your color space to utility raw, and then the normal map will show up properly, okay? Well, that's it. That's kind of the low poly methodology in a nutshell. Yeah, I think this zone here with the buttons and the kind of shirt overlap, that'll be something I would be projected in. This can be remeshed as a single, I'm not sure, yeah, there's a thickness there, so I just make it a simple single shell mesh and have it be part of the body as an object. And then, yeah, this kind of collar area or the cuff area, same thing, buttons as texture. And this I could remesh. Now I could have also done, let's just go to solo here. Sometimes I'll try this. Is there division on this? I can't quite tell. Or let me go to reconstruct subdivision. No, I can't do that. So if we go into, you can do this under polygroups on the other side, but in my custom interface, you go to group by normals. So you might have a thickness edge there, but I'm not quite sure. Yeah. So I'd either make it a thin shell mesh like this, or kind of attach it to the shirt and make that interior solid. So we just kind of see, right? Kind of like we do with the hand here, where it just kind of goes down and then arm, right? Now, in bigger budget type productions, you might actually simulate this a bit with cloth, same thing with the neck, but this would just be sort of skin to the neck slash upper spine bones there. And like I said, this zone here, that would just be texture ultimately. Normal map, texture map, yeah.